Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Orange County Funding Corporation Finance Committee meeting. It is October 18th, Wednesday, October 18th at 4:40 p.m. And we will call the meeting to order, and we'll ask for a roll call.
Sure. Dean Tambury.
Present.
Mark Green.
Present.
And Jeff Christ is with us.
Welcome.
Thank you. Jeff is not a committee member yet, though we have discussed him joining this committee and appreciate him sitting in here. Myself, Bill Fioravanti, and Marty Barras, the staff members are here. We also have Shannon Manisi, of course, our external CFO, and Mr. Jose Rojas here from Acquisitions Marketing for our AV.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. The proof of notice, the notice was duly and properly provided. The minutes, approval of the minutes of September 26th, 2023 for the OCFC Finance Committee meeting. You had sent them out to everyone. They look fine to me. If anybody has any questions or comments regarding them. Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion for approval, please.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Mark. I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved. New business.
We get right to our September monthly financials, and Shannon Manisi will lead us in that. Shannon, take it away, please.
Okay. So for September, there was $12 in interest on the loans. They're winding down, and you had $23,000 of interest earnings on CDs maturing, so that got rolled over, and then you just had your monthly insurance expense. So for September, you had net income of $22,736.53. And then for cash, between the CD and the bank account, you had $1,885,485.
Thank you. And resiliency, unless anybody has any questions regarding it, I want to take a minute to look at them.
Did you said something came in on this, Bill, or no?
Which?
On the resiliency?
Yes, we had, it won't show up, it's not showing up this month, but we had another payment, a loan paid in full. They owed us, we had 3 that owed us entirely, they came in and paid it entirely. So we are like over 90% repayment right now, so.
So next month that'll go $2 and $20,000?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Okay, and is it approval of these? Are we these together or no? Go separately?
I think you can do them together, making a recommendation to report them to recommend for approval of the full board.
So I'll,
Well, hold on. Put this and then we'll talk about 2024?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because these I kind of lump into the monthly financial reports that are typical, and then the budget we should handle separately. Jeff, if you have any questions, please chime right in, okay?
thank you. Will do.
On to the budget?
Well, I'll make the motion.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I apologize.
I'll make the motion, that's okay. Approval of September and October payables and approval of the resiliency loan update. I'll make that motion. Second, thank you, Mark. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, that's approved, and we'll move on to the budget.
Terrific. Okay, so, and I said in my email to you, I've been over a couple of times with Shannon, so Shannon can help me out as need be, but I'm just gonna move through it. We were talking about OCFC. The version you have is draft 4. And do you have the versions with the additional years? 24, 25, 26, 27?
They're right on top of your desk.
Right here, thank you, Marty.
Aha. Because mine printed it after I closed the next page.
I'll take the extra copies at the end, Dean, please.
Thank you, Mark. Is it one page?
Thank you.
I used to lick my fingers, I don't do that anymore.
All right, it's tough, right?
The world frowns on that.
So I just want to remind everyone, especially those that haven't been through this process with us before.
This is the idea.
Okay, great. You have OCFC though, no?
No.
That's only OCFC. Didn't even take a look at it. So, We, of course, are focused on our 2024 budget, but for our Paris reporting, we actually have to enter by the end of October, we have to enter 3 years of annual budgets. So you have to approve all of those so that we can obviously post them to Paris. So I will tell you that as each year, as I build these 25, 26, 27, those 3 in the future, I don't scrutinize anywhere near to the degree that I do this year's, of course, because it's really just a projection. There's so many things we don't know that are going to happen in that time. But I certainly do my best to forecast that. But our focus is on 2024, and I can explain how it carries out in the future years on any line item as you like. But let me go through 2024, starting with application fees.
Excuse me.
Yes, sure,
A
please.
couple things.
Sure.
So this would be actually the format that would be, it would be submitted to Paris.
Yeah, we take the figures and enter it into their system.
And then if something changes or whatever in 2025, obviously we make those adjustments and we move it forward.
Correct. All we can do is forecast, and it's understood that every year we're scrutinizing it and rebuilding that, the next year's budget. So yes, we put it out there, and it can be drastically different. 2027, as shown now, could look totally different when we get there. But we are required to do it, so, and it's not a bad exercise to go out a little bit, right? So, okay, getting into revenues here, OCFC is quicker, and I'm gonna move quick only because it's my fault that we're starting a little late, and we have a lot to cover. Application fees, I'm assuming 2 new applications for bond or other OCFC work, 2,500 apiece, there's the 5,000. Assuming we're closing 1 bond project with closing fees of approximately $125,000. The loan interest, of course, is we can't book the COVID loan proceeds that come back in. You may recall, it's not new revenue, but we do book the interest that comes in. And next year we expect to be closing out the loan program at the end of this year and writing off whatever remains. The write-off amount was tens of thousands. I think we wrote off $30,000. Well, based on how much additional we have recovered, we actually are now adding to the revenue line of recovered funds for $6,000. That's what we, because we had a $64,000 receivable with $60,000 in bad debt allowance. We received $10,000 of it, so it leaves $6,000 further to be recovered. So we don't expect any further loan proceeds or loan interest revenue, but we will recover another $6,000. Interest income is next. The end of our revenues here, and basically the idea here was that what you will see in OCIDA's budget is another line item for shovel ready for that initiative, and we put $250,000 in for that. So initially for interest earnings, I calculated how much does OCFC have invested in CDs now, which is about 1.722 million. We had a 1.7 million CD, it matured, that and the interest, we just rolled into another one. And I took 100,000 off for shovel ready. Now I will say, as I often do in these, I reviewed this with Mark Green, and Mark, this is one of, I think, 2 suggestions you made here, where you really looked at shovel ready being an income, an investment, not a typical expense that goes into Netherlands. So you suggested that we keep the full amount of what we're investing in CDs, so 1.722, so I add back into this, and if I do that, this number will, just so you know, will change to $68,916. And then we take the shovel-ready funds out of our fund balance. That's where they're coming from. So it doesn't, Mark suggests it doesn't need to be accounted for in that way. So, but still, it's either 1.6 million or 1.7 million at 4%. I estimated for next year, assuming that interest rates won't plummet, for next year, and that's the interest earnings at that time. That's all revenues. Any questions on the revenues before I move to expenses? Do you want to clarify, or was it clear enough?
No, my feeling is this, that I wanted them separate, because interest is interest, shovel ready is shovel ready. Now, I don't know if the accountant is still on or the CFO is still on.
She is here, yes.
But I would like some advice on how we should categorize that. My opinion is that is not a expense. To me, an expense is something that you pay and it's gone, right? I pay salary, it's gone. I pay for rent, it's gone. Shovel ready is, in my opinion, more of an investment, right? Our goal is that we want to get that money back. I mean, whether that happens or not, that's irrespective
That's the intention.
but that is the original intention. So lumping that into expense, in my opinion, isn't the way to go. But at the very least, I want it to be its own separate line item. I don't want it buried underneath our interest, because it's just not the proper way to do a functional business. Is, you know, the whole reason why you have line items is so you can see it specifically. So that's why, when that came to my attention, I want interest earnings to be our complete interest earnings, and then we create a line item. Now, where we put that, I will defer to the CFO to say what is her opinion.
Yes.
So there's two things that you're really essentially talking about here. So when calculating the interest, it's not earnings on your shovel ready, it's earnings on the money that you have in the bank. So if you're gonna take $100,000 of liquid cash and spend it on something, that is something you will not be earning interest on, whether you're gonna get a return on it or not. That's why that number was reduced by whatever was gonna use for the project. So that's one topic. The next topic is if you do plan to recoup those costs, yes, I would agree, it's not gonna go under expenses,
You cut out for a second there, Shannon. One more time.
yeah, you muted me.
Go ahead.
So where did you last hear?
Oh, just 5 seconds ago. So,
Okay, so if you do plan to recoup those costs, and I don't know how, OCFC plans on recouping the costs, but if that's something that you tangibly think will happen, then you could put it on the balance sheet as something that you expect to receive back in, kind of like a receivable. But if you don't foresee ever recouping those costs, or if there's no functional way for the entity to do so, you can't put it on the balance sheet. That wouldn't be proper accounting.
and we can recoup them.
That is our goal.
Yes.
Okay,
So
so then
that's our
yes,
goal.
your shovel ready wouldn't, the cost that you lay out to get the property ready wouldn't run through your expenses, then we could put it on the balance sheet. But in regards to the interest earnings, if you don't have the cash in the bank to earn the money on, you can't really earn interest on it. That's the only reason why we reduced the interest.
And the only other wrinkle to that is there's a timing to these expenditures. We're not just putting out $250,000 in this year. It's $30,000 for engineering, this, that, and the other. So we can spend more or invest more, but then I think
If
we're
that's
approaching it.
what she thinks is the proper way to do it, then I'm totally fine with it. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't doing something that was not proper accounting.
No,
So-
but I think if recouping the costs and how you're gonna structure that in your future projects, that's definitely something that you need to get legal involved in. I mean, from an accounting perspective, it's easy to put it on the books, but then you have to talk about whether it's tangible or not.
I would say the timeframe, my goal would be, like, it probably wouldn't happen within the fiscal year. You know what I'm saying? So this would be something that would carry over for 1 to 3 years. Because the whole point is,
Yeah, it would be like construction in progress, it would be more like a fixed asset at that point that you would then eventually turn around and sell.
exactly, and that's exactly what this is.
Yeah. So you would just classify it as construction in progress. But again, you have to go back to what is the entity really allowed to do from an operating stance. I don't think it would be an issue, but I would say just run that by legal.
Okay?
It makes sense more, obviously, it's more transparent, that's what it is. However, there's gonna be a time frame for the monies to come back. Maybe coming back, maybe a year, who knows, 2 years, right? We don't
My
know.
guess would be
But-
1 to 3
But we
years.
can see it though on the sheet to be more transparent. It's good. Thank you, Shannon.
Okay,
Yeah, no problem.
great. Okay, anything else on revenues?
Nope.
Okay, moving along, admin expense. Basically, we are going to start allocating some of our bookkeeping to OCFC. We have not been doing that, it's all OCIDA, so we're gonna allocate 10% of those fees going forward, 10% of what the 2023 projected actual, this is 10% higher than that. Professional fees, this is a quarter of our Paris reporting expenses, because it does involve OCFC, and sometimes we do go deep on bond deals like we earlier did this afternoon. Annual audit, the rate for this year was $6,000, so I'm anticipating $500 in addition. Sometimes that's typical. Insurance, this is just an estimated 8% increase of our premium for that covered OCFC in 2023. Legal really was only $1,500 last year for OCFC, mostly for general counsel kind of work. not bond counsel work. So I'm anticipating just a small increase to that. In loan program administration, that's really us just renewing our down home solutions. It's the loans administration software. We're gonna renew that one more time, and that would be the end of it. So, and no other project expenditures, that was more of an older line item. So total expenses, 20,000. So without making any change to what was invested, I have it still at 1.62 million, again, 100,000 less than really what we have available, keeping our certain, our checking account available for cash flow. Yeah, so you're talking about a net gain of $180,816,000, $180,816 net for 2024 proposed. And you see the way it extrapolates into future years, with the loan program expenses falling off, interest earnings also dropping off, assuming the interest rates will drop, and no recovered funds or loan interest on resiliency loan. Of course, we're done at that point. All right, any other questions on OCFC?
Well, yes.
Yes.
So, one of the things that we have to do,
Oh, yeah.
which we'll also have to talk about it with the IDA, is we need to input into the budget for the first time Mr. Scoofus's employee that he's forcing us to hire. So my recommendation was to do 2/3 of that salary in IDA, 1/3 in FC, and that's my thought. And so
Third? A third?
2/3 IDA, 1/3 OCFC.
Is it monitoring both entities?
Boy,
Or is it just IDA?
We really don't, plus we don't, it's crazy, because you had no idea what that number is.
well, I know that, but that's why, the way I've always run a business is you put it in as an expense, because it's a lot easier to answer to why we didn't spend as much money as we budgeted, versus going and saying, wow, we didn't have any idea that we were gonna spend this much money, and at the end of the year, it looked like we've screwed the pooch. So I would rather get stuff in here. We know that at some point we're gonna have to hire somebody, or be forced to pay somebody rather. So we should get it in there as line items.
And let me answer to Shannon's point, which is, does it affect OCFC? They've only named the Orange County IDA.
That's why I asked.
There's never been any mention of OCFC. Obviously, it's the other side of the coin, other side of the agency for us, but it hasn't been mentioned, so.
But I mean, to Mark's point as well, it doesn't hurt you to put it in there. Even if you did like a generic just $100,000 and did 75 and 25, at least you tried to estimate,
I was going there, but.
Oh, yeah. No, I fully expect that.
Well, if that is the case, fine, that would just be.
I fully expect that that's what it's gonna be.
Over half your budget.
I didn't want to talk about that, but yeah. Tell me more.
So, Dean, are you okay?
Oh, I'm fine with that. I just don't know what number you just put. Just put a line item with a zero now, or you put a line item?
25,000.
25,000.
Again, I just threw an arbitrary number out.
I understand. That's all we can do.
Unless you have an idea, I mean, if you're talking about a professional, you kind of got away where the industry averages are for those types of professionals and how much time. So, I mean, you might be on the high side, you might be on the low side, but at least you've accounted for it.
I would put in a line item, use the 100,000 as the target line.
You jacked up your numbers since we spoke earlier, but
Well,
probably.
Sorry, that's probably my fault.
No,
It is what
probably
it is.
prudent.
But again, it's a lot easier to have extra money at the end of the year than to say, gee, we didn't think about this. So I put 25 into this as a line item.
Okay. So, any other questions on expenses at this point? Because I think what I'd be looking for is a motion for you to recommend approval of this up to the board with a couple of recommended changes, adding $25,000 for the monitor. We're not going to change interest earnings?
No.
Okay. So with that, just adding a line item for the monitor at $25,000 of a total, which is anticipated of
Yes.
But I think we are gonna add a line, aren't we, for the
Shovel ready?
shovel ready.
For where? For expense?
I think, no,
I-
I think we're gonna call it construction or something along those lines.
All right, Shannon, do we have you right? Or are
No,
you saying we
so
don't have to because it comes straight off the balance sheet?
If the intention again is to remove the cost, if you're gonna put an asset on, you wouldn't flow that through your P&L because you wouldn't be running it through your expenses through the year. You would be putting it on as a fixed asset until the construction is done. And then essentially you would turn around and then sell that piece of property, which then you would get the money for, and at that point you would record your revenue. But any costs that are captured, it would be as if you were building a house or some other tangible thing that you're gonna put them on your balance sheet, you're not gonna run it through your expenses. So again, that's why I asked if you physically or if it's feasible that you're gonna get the money back or recoup the cost that you're putting into it, then you can put it on the balance sheet. But if you're unsure about it, then I would say the safest way to do it is to put it through for budget purposes on your expenses, and then if it determines that you wanna go that out and put it on as an asset, you can do so. Then your expenses wouldn't be as high.
All right, so there still needs to be a line in here, though, under expenses for construction costs.
Again, it depends on what the costs are going to be categorized as. So if you're gonna put it on as an asset, no, it doesn't go through your expenses, it goes on your balance sheet, kind of like a receivable.
Okay, then let's make sure that that's where it goes.
Okay,
Okay.
super.
Because again, if you're saying you wanna get the money back and you're gonna sell whatever it is you're done at the end of the day, you can put it on as an asset and it wouldn't affect your budget.
Okay.
Welcome everyone. It is 5:06 p.m. on Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, and this is the Finance Committee for the IDA, Industrial Development Agency, Orange County. Call the meeting to order, and the roll call.
Dean Tamburri,
Present.
Mark Green,
President?
committee member James Rinaldi is not present. We have another board member here, Mr. Jeff Christ. Staff members, Marty Boras, myself, Bill Fioravanti, Jose Rojas with Acquisitions Marketing, and Shannon Manisi, our external CFO.
Thank you. Proof of notice. Notice was duly and properly provided. The minutes of September 26, 2023 of the IDA Finance Committee meeting is attached. They were sent out earlier for people to review. If there's any questions or changes, I would ask them now, or a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passed. The minutes are approved for September 26th. On to new business. Financials. Shannon reviews some
Turn to
financials.
Shannon again,
Thank
to
you,
review our
Shannon.
September financials for OCIDA.
So for the month of October, there was the normal monthly rent of $17.95, and then you again had a CD that matured, so there was $41,808 in interest earned. So total income for the month was $43,603.66. Your expenses are pretty standard for the month. A few things I'd like to point out: professional fees was higher, and that was because the Harris Beach Paris reporting is in there for the month. IT support and audio visual. That's up, and in there is $2,000 for Dropbox renewal for the year.
What is that? How much? What is that? How much is that? Say that.
Dropbox.
$2,016 Dropbox, that's our kind of online server for all of our files.
And that's for the
Yeah,
year.
That's for the year, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Payroll is up slightly higher than the budget, but that's because there's 5 weeks of payroll based on the timing of when things fell for the month. So it would work out in general. And then building rent and utilities are also up, but that's also 2 months of rent and 2 months of CAM charges that were also included in there. So for the month, you had $58,490 in expenses, so there's a loss of $14,886.79. Any questions on any of those?
I don't have any questions, Mark,
No.
anything? I'll make a motion to approve the financials.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Financials approved to be, for the full board for our next meeting. And the payables. Review the payables for September and October.
You wanna do this too, Shannon?
What, the payables?
Yeah, you want me to do this, whichever you like?
Yeah, you can do the payables.
Sure.
You want me to go over the cash bank balance?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me do this quick and then what we'll stay in order.
Sure, no problem.
So yes, we have our printer at the very top there and lease payments. First Columbia, 2 months rent and 2 months CAM. 2 months for our advertisement with MidHudsonNews.com. Down to ITC, our office phone, our office phones, that's what you're seeing there. Charter Communication, and below that's internet and fax. Jumping down below that, card member services. Our Dropbox fee is on there, as you see. Our commercial package from 23 through 24, commercial insurance through the Cincinnati company. That's our $6,300 and change there as well. And I will note we paid that with a credit card just because of the deadline. It was very close, and we wouldn't have time to process through this normal course without it lapsing. So that's why it was paid there. But everything else is typical. Next page. We have some of our reporting for local labor monitoring for Fiorello and 360 Middletown. Further down, RBT CPAs, that's for 2 months of our typical bookkeeping billing. Next, Land Associates, that's also labor auditing. That's for West Warwick 123, the Convergent Energy project. So that's on there as well. And everything else you see, which is typically standard. Last one, all other. Jeff, I'll just tell you, we do 3 categories. One is recurring bills. The second is contracted services, things with a contract that we're paying on. And the third is all other. So we're in the third tranche here, all other. Nothing unusual except for our crime policy through the Travelers Insurance Company, September 23 through September 24. The rest meetings I attend for Association of Towns, Villages, and Cities, etc. Everything else is normal. Those are our payables. And I'll turn it to Shannon for our cash and investments. Page 9.
So with all the CDs that the IDA has, there is $5.9 million in CDs. The escrow, which is just held for the project, there's $87,629 in those accounts, and then the operating account has $3,618,286, and that's just timing of closing the CDs and then moving it into the new CDs to open up. So overall, $9.6 million in cash and investments.
And that's it, no COVID resiliency report or anything for OCIDA, so those are your financials for September.
Make a motion to accept the financials as presented.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed into the full board for approval. And you want to do the...
Let's do the budget, and we'll bring them right at the end, if we would. Shannon, if you stay with us for this piece, we'll go over to OCIDA. There I am. Okay, right off the top again, we have budgets going actually 4 years out. Anticipating closing, trying to assume a little regression or contracting in the market. Assuming 3 projects closing at $150,000 each for our accelerator location there. And I'm actually going to modify, that's going to come out of the budget. Let me just see what else is on there. Yeah, I'm going to take that out for 05, 6, and 7, just kind of occurring to me, but you'll see it for next year. Subtenant rents, that's half a year of being in Warwick because we are looking to get out June 30th. That's what you're seeing there. And the last is interest earnings, and this is now on the 5.75 million that we currently have invested from OCIDA funds in CDs. That actually is minus 150,000 that I've earmarked for shovel ready. So right now we have that's 7.2 million invested. So taking 150,000 out of that, 5.75 at again 4% for 2024. That's how I come up with that figure. And then you see it Slightly lower amount invested going forward and lower interest rates, 4%, 3%, and 2%. Any questions on revenues?
No.
All right, moving on to expenses. Salaries. This is the biggest discussion item, I would say. I have built in some potential pay raises, which obviously are up to you. Nothing I wanted to have, looking to have approved here, but by year end, most likely. I have built in a 2% increase for myself, just to have it in there. I have a 4% increase budgeted for our project manager, and the admin assistant position, even though I frankly would like to rename it because it's really evolved. That person was hired really for more clerical duties and minutes taking and things like that, and they have really stepped up. Their position is far more, I would say, sophisticated and high level in terms of what they're dealing with than before. Both the project manager and the current admin assistant are really the mechanics of the IDA. I like to joke, I talk about it all day and they do the work of it. They work with our attorneys and applicants. I'm mostly talking about it, but they are doing it. And the admin assistant has really stepped up. I'd like to make it even greater, but I think it would, more right size it with a 10% increase. Frankly, she started at what was an entry level type of rate for clerical, and I just want to continue to right size it. Not with an enormous increase right now, but 10% looks like, looks high enough, but I want to continue to kind of get those salaries up there. Last thing in that is also proposing adding an admin position, a part-time admin position. Again, I could do some title changes. I think would clean some things up, but an admin position at $22 an hour, 25 hours a week for 50 weeks in the year. Could be a little less than that, but I wanted to budget for that. And frankly, I think I speak for the whole staff, where we could use a little more help. And I'd like that person to help with spillover from the project manager and admin assistance work, but also taking on a little executive assistance work, as well as some communications assistant work, helping us as we try and really step up with external communications, social media, etc. So that's all built into that. I'll keep going now. The health benefits, that is a similar proportion to what we're paying now for the current rate of salaries. And it does yeah, that's enough said there. Payroll also based upon typical portions there you see for the new salary levels, that's that. Retirement and profit sharing, I will say this entire line item is open for change this evening. This is the way I interpreted Mr. Bach's proposal. And I think we may be a little low on these investments. Mr. Green, that's something we talked about. Perhaps we'll wait till Mr. Bach's presentation, unless you want to make suggestions before that. But again, that's an item where I think those dollar amounts could change this evening before we look to approve it. Fiscal audit, I had budgeted far too much for our last audits. When they actually came in, they were much more competitive. We paid $18,500 for IDA, so I added another $500 there. I did the same on OCFC, another $500. Insurance, this is just assuming an increase of 5% over our principal for our premiums for 2023. CFO bookkeeping, this is basically the rate that we're paying. We increased that amount over 2023 because of increased workload for RBT. And again, I took out 10% of this new figure for 2024 and I moved it over to OCFC. So this is 90% of the total amount anticipated in bookkeeping expenses between the two sides of the house. Professional fees, that is mostly a couple stenographer payments for our public hearings. 4 of them I'm anticipating. And the remainder is budgeting for Paris reporting assistance from Harris Beach. And 25% of that I have moved to OCFC. So that's for that. Next is travel, lodging, and meals. This has really been a common number, or kind of in line with what I've been budgeting before. This does assume a board member, something I threw out last year, to join me at a conference like New York State EDC. Also adding a sector-based conference. Let's say it's on chip fab manufacturing, biotech, something like that. Plus my mileage expenses, staff lunches, which we do 2 or 3 times a year, and our holiday meeting. That's all in there as well. Office supplies and postage, that's supplies, copier expenses, water, slightly above the 23 total. So that's all for administrative expenses. Next is project programs. I did not have in there the monitor, but I did add that line item. I think we're talking about adding $75,000 here and $25,000 to OCFC. Next is legal counsel. This is basically going off a similar amount to what we project for the end of 2023 and adding $15,000 for the monitor and other extraneous issues, probably in line with anything we go to, say, Blakely Platt in Schmidt that we recently engaged. So I added another $15,000 for extraneous stuff beyond general counsel and typical project work. Next is local labor monitoring. This is mostly for monitoring that we expect to continue at Legoland, New York, only because they are under our former local labor policy in which the IDA paid for it. Now, applicants pay for it themselves. So it's only for Legoland. Dean and I have talked a lot about that. We both work on this project. Both have kind of a dog in the fight on that. So we hope to be done with that in the next couple of years, but I did keep some there in case we still had some extra monitoring, because that project could go through 2026, technically. Cost benefit analyses, we already paid for our tool that I use over and over for our typical CBAs, but this I've reserved in here for the next 4 years, reserved the right to be able to hire a cost benefit analysis firm to do an independent analysis if it's a project of certain controversy or of scale and scope. That's in there as well. And shovel ready, again, I put $250,000 into shovel ready for this, and putting it in going forward. You see higher amounts in the 06 or 26 and 27 because those could be more significant investments, perhaps in water and sewer extension, something else in that regard. So those are our program and project expenses. Next is building expenses. I've got our rent in here. This is with our new rate, which with the CAM is higher, but our rent is a competitive rate that we negotiated for the next 3 years. So that's what that is. I have a slight increase in there, mostly in CAM, but that's probably, it could be argued that there's not a lot of room for that to increase because utilities are in the next line. Utilities, this is one thing, and I have not been able to do it since our call, Mr. Green, but I'm just going to verify that amount in QuickBooks. That seemed to be what I saw for utilities, but I could have been including some accelerator sites or something, because that does seem high now that you've kind of done a sanity check on that. So that one I will see if I can do in between meetings. Renovations and repairs, just leaving, a small amount in there for something we may need to do at the offices. Maintenance includes cleaning, pest control, both at the headquarters in New Windsor and at our Warwick site for half the year, and another $500 for equipment maintenance, whatever that may be. $4,200 for internet, telephone, and telephone equipment leasing. That also includes internet and telephone at Warwick for half a year. So those are the building expenses. Last category, agency support expenses. IT support, audio visual. Now this is something where this includes our networking, our network monitoring, audio visual, Zoom, GoDaddy, Google Suite. And it does reflect a savings because of new economies of scale based upon some changes we made to how we were managing all of this. Except you're not seeing much of that savings because what I did not add until today is $30,000 for a website redo for IDA. It's something we've known is coming. It was just the one thing that really, that and the monitor I was blocking out, I believe. But our IDA internet, our website is very data heavy. It's not crashing, but there are problems all the time, and we actually have a retainer with our old firm, 88 Studios, to help us because we do have problems every month or so. We have to come in. We need to rebuild it. It's been patched up and band-aided for a while, so I wanted to have it in there. Next is marketing PR, which I continue to invest in that for social media, public relations, helping us with stories and such, but also getting into some new areas like radio, as I shared with you, and perhaps other advertisement. Also includes $3,000 for new signage at the headquarters. We got to do that because it says accelerator right now, and we can't stomach that much longer. Last couple of things, board and events. This includes typical attendance, me attending all sorts of events, economic development, whatever it might be, and it also includes $5,000 for an event sponsorship or sponsorships. We did it this year for the cannabis conference. I just want to have it in there to reserve the right to do one or more sponsorships up to a total of $5,000. Typically, like the cannabis conference, conferences, shows, whatever it might be, that highlight what we're doing in the work of the IDA and sectors and other work that we believe is of tremendous focus. Cannabis is a sector, of course, we've doubled and tripled down on, so So that's built in there. And then training and education, I backed it off a little because we didn't use it all this year. It's something I want to encourage staff and board to try and utilize more trainings available there. So we're talking expenses of over 1.1 million. And as a result of really shovel ready, monitor being in there, a few other things, you know, we are talking of operating IDA as we've done in the past couple of years, but it is at a loss, most sizable this year of 379,000.
So my one question is this, it seems like we're double counting, because you're taking out of the interest, so in the FC, we said, no, we're gonna put it in the interest and take it out of the interest and not add a line item. Here, we're taking it out of the interest, and we are adding a line item.
We are, I did have a line
So
item.
which one is it?
Exact, Shannon, does shovel ready come out of here, you think?
So again, it's.
Yeah,
you're
if we're gonna
trying
recoup
to recoup the cost, then it should go on the balance sheet, it should come off of here.
Okay,
I do have an answer on the utilities.
Okay. thank
The
you.
utilities that you were looking at do include like the Warwick stuff, so for headquarters, you're about $6,200 year to date.
So 6,200 headquarters year to date, so you're probably looking at about
Three-quarters.
$8,000.
As
$8,500.
As opposed to which,
Double that.
that's.
16,500.
Okay, that doesn't make it all up, but a little something.
Mhm.
23, okay, got that.
Well,
So we would remove shovel ready,
That's
sorry.
why we're discussing, right?
Exactly. Thank you.
That's why we're doing this. And then we're saying that whole line will not appear. It'll appear somewhere.
Correct.
Right. Really comes off the balance, it deals with the balance sheet, it's dealt with on the balance sheet. Is there anywhere that can go? You just go there.
I think we're good to go, right?
Yes.
Okay,
All right, make a motion to add the things we discussed and pass this up to the full board for approval.
you fine with the salaries also?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I think you should add 3.5%. Not saying you're gonna get it, but I think you should budget for it.
For CEO?
Yes,
Okay.
and again, not saying you're gonna get it.
So,
Exactly, absolutely.
so this would be, you'll make the changes and with our next meeting, it'll be discuss it again and approve it, or we'll make the change.
We've got to approve it tonight,
Okay.
unfortunately, because of the Paris reporting. So we're always up against the gun, really, you know, something like that, unfortunately. But
Okay.
we'll talk it out, we don't rush or
That's
anything.
fine.
But I just won't, you won't see the changes until, I'll send it out after this tomorrow.
Mhm.
But I'm looking for approval with these stated changes.
I second the motion.
Let's go.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Budget's
All set. Last item is Mr. Lubach.
Yes, I'll go get him, everybody
Okay,
sit down.
please.
I think we're just gonna lock this in.
Yeah.
A little behind, folks, sorry, I had a few
It's
things.
okay. Dr. Rodak. Doesn't matter.
We're gonna adjourn in 2 seconds.
Doesn't
Oh,
matter.
it's finance adjourned?
Want me to let you go?
No.
Wait till
I mean,
finance
unless you
is.
need me.
I don't think so, I think we're good, we're gonna
All right,
let the
if
show
you
from
need me, you can
here.
always text me.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks,
Bye-bye.
have a good night.
Too.